Today, we're diving into the lore, the storyline behind Diablo Immortal. What is up, my friends? My name is Echo, and as you can see, I have a guest with me today. This is Nein, who's in charge of a Diablo podcast featuring lore, talking about that storyline. It's called the West March Workshop. We're here with Nein today. How you doing, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
I'm really excited, and the reason I'm so excited about this is because in the comments section, which I pay a lot of attention to on this channel, everyone's been talking about lore and how they want to know about the story. How does Diablo Immortal play into the entire Diablo series? Because we know this is not a reskin. This is an extension of the Diablo story, falling in between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. And I can't do a good enough job myself. I needed to bring you onto the show so that you, the storytelling genius, can tell everyone about what is Diablo Immortal about. Now, this is the start of a series. There's going to be many other videos following this one. We're just dipping our toe in the waters today. So, Nein, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and where they can find you before we get into this story?
Oh, well, I've been doing Diablo podcasts, Diablo publications for quite some time, kind of the man behind the scenes and such. And one of my biggest enjoyments of the entire series has always been the lore and story. So I've kind of built up myself as the lore guy. You go into any of the streamers, and ask them, they want to know more about the story. Oh, you need to go talk to Nein. He's the guy to talk to.
So
that's
you're the man for the job.
Niche I built out.
Yeah.
Sorry?
So you're the man for the job.
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
All right, I've come to the right place. So let's not wait anymore. We'll get into all the details and stuff later. But guys, remember, if you like Diablo Immortal and if you're excited for it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell, because when the game does come out, I'll be bringing out daily videos for you on Diablo Immortal. And until then, other supportive content. So Nein, I know that the Worldstone plays a big role into this, but some people watching this may not even know or understand what the Worldstone is. Get us started with the beginning of the lore.
Well, there's a very famous quote by a great astrophysicist, Carl Sagan, that said, in order to make a cherry pie from scratch, you have to first create the universe. And that's kind of where this all goes back to, that with Diablo Immortal, the main focus of the story is going to be set after the events of Diablo 2, and it's focused on finding these shards of the broken and corrupted Worldstone. But what exactly is the Worldstone? If you've played both Diablo 1, Diablo 2, even Diablo 3, it doesn't really tell you a lot about it. All that story is set outside the game and the books, manuals, and other things like that. And it actually goes all the way back to the actual kind of the creation of the universe of the Diablo series itself. And, back then, it was just one singular being called Anu, who's kind of like the creator deity of the Diablo universe. He decides that in order to transcend his own being, that he has to shed himself of everything that he's deemed negative and dark. So he takes out, pain, frustration, hatred, the want of destruction, terror, all these things, and he just casts it away from himself. So that way he's just a singular, perfect being, kind of like the paragon of all that's good.
Purity.
But, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go through and you take, these divine essences, they're not just going to be cast off into nothing. They coalesced and they formed an evil entity known as Tathamet, the seven-headed dragon. And obviously, these two didn't really get along too well. And it instantly came to blows, and they had a tremendous battle that more or less kind of created all of the realms that exist within, the universe of Diablo that they call creation.
All right, so far we basically have created the good and we've created the evil, and then together in this fight they make creation. Now, I want to mention one thing. A lot of the people that are watching this video many of them probably haven't ever played a Diablo game, because we have a mobile fan base here, so they're going to be jumping into this from scratch. So you taking your time and going into it is actually great, because a lot of them may not have ever played Diablo 2 or Diablo 3. So thank you for kind of filling in those gaps. Now let's keep it going. I should just shut my mouth and let you talk.
Well, the two of them obviously, are pretty evenly matched, being kind of like two sides of the same coin, and they end up killing one another. And that final blow that goes through and lays low Tathamet Anu is himself destroyed. Now, his body kind of shatters, and from that, different bits and pieces of him are spread throughout the universe. One of those being his spine, which kind of goes through and cools, and as it kind of like coalesces, begins to form what later becomes known as the heavens around it. And it's from his spine, later called the crystal arch, that the angels are born. These are beings of pure harmony. They're actually more light and sound than they are physical beings. That's why whenever you see angels depicted in Diablo, they're always shadowed hoods. There's no being inside that armor. They are the armor itself. And then also, from Tathamet's rotting corpse comes the demons that are spawned. And from Tathamet's 7 heads, you get the 7 primevals. Baal, the Lord of Destruction, Diablo, the Lord of Terror, Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, and then you have the 4 lesser evils. You have Andariel, the Lady of Anguish, Duriel, the Lord of Pain, Belial, the Lord of Lies, and Asmodan, the Lord of Sin. And these 7 prime evils kind of make up the rulership of hell itself. And they instantly come to blows. The things that spawn them and they were created from don't really like each other, and so they, by nature, their very essences, don't like one another either. But what are they actually fighting over? And this becomes clear as they begin to go out and explore what is of creation. They come to one last artifact left over from that giant battle between Anu and Tathamet, and that is the Eye of Anu. And this is kind of the center point of all creation. It's the center of the universe, and from which all realms are created. The world of Sanctuary, that all of the games go through and take place, as well as countless other worlds. All the stars in the sky are created from just this one singular object that later becomes known as the Worldstone. And with it, whichever side is able to control that Worldstone, they're able to create planets, worlds, galaxies. They're able to do anything to their heart's desire. And so it's a constant battle between the forces of heaven and the forces of hell, known as the eternal conflict, that makes it so that way they're always kind of like going back and forth on who controls this very powerful relic that's kind of like anchored in the center of everything. It's from this that all wars are pretty much created. The demons will go through, they'll take over the Worldstone, and they'll create just pure realms of pure nightmare. Just planets made of flesh and such that eventually just kind of like turn on themselves and are destroyed. Whereas the angels, when they go through and they make something, it's so orderly and pure that life never takes root. Everything is just perfection. But it's so perfect that there's no room for life to come from. There's a couple of angels and a couple of demons that kind of get tired from this over time, and they kind of formed an alliance of sorts, led by the Archangel Inarius and the demon Lilith, who's actually the daughter of one of the prime evils, Mephisto, and they lead like a tiny rebellion. And so they've got a bunch of angels and demons that are able to join forces and kind of fight against the greater whole of the angel and demonic forces. They actually go and they kind of steal, finger quotations, the Worldstone by masking it. And what they're able to do is, by the combined forces of the good and the evil, they create a perfect world, which is later comes known as Sanctuary, the first of its kind, where they're able to create actual life. And they create this sanctuary as a way to remove themselves from the eternal conflict. And it's kind of from this union of angel and demon that you then later have the humans, or the Nephilim, as they're called in the beginning, that are gone through and created. And that is kind of like the actual power that the Worldstone itself holds, is this ability to just create anything that you want. But it's only been the two sides come together to actually kind of form the original being of Anu, that you're able to get life again.
So this Worldstone has massive power, which means the good and the evil are both going to want to have control of it, I'm assuming. If I'm wrong, you can definitely tell me, but they're both going to want to have control so that the other can't do wrongdoing with it, I assume.
Yeah, it's both the angels and the demons, think that the other side is wrong, and so they always are going through and saying, no, you can't have this, we've got it. And they're always trying to create their own vision of what they think a world should be, or what what they think that creation should be, but it never works out, no matter which side has it.
So Nine, I have a question for you. This story, you've really been filling us in and giving us a good understanding of good and evil and what the Worldstone's about, but how does it tie into Diablo Immortal?
Well, for the way that it ties into Immortal is basically after Inarius and Lilith steal it and create Sanctuary. It's something that's never been done before. The angels and the demons are both kind of like taken back by this. One, the Worldstone's missing. The thing that they've been fighting for millennia over is now gone. And what are the ramifications of something of this kind of grand experiment that they created? And that is something that's going to be explored in Immortal itself.
I got it. Okay, so there's the connection. And that was a good chunk of story for episode 1. We don't want to give too much because we want everyone to completely understand. Now they can go back and do even more research so they can fully understand this, although you did a pretty nice job filling everyone in. But what are we going to be talking about? What's going to be the next part of this story that we take on in episode 2?
The next part of the story is actually going to be more about what Inarius and Lilith actually do with the Worldstone, looking into a little bit more of what powers the Worldstone actually has, why it influences Sanctuary so much, and why the characters in Diablo Immortal are going to be so concerned with going and finding the pieces of it.
Okay, makes total sense. I can't wait for that episode. And by the way, everybody, I believe we're going to be putting out one of these lore videos per week until the series is done, however long that takes. So you're going to have to come back every week for the next episode so you can get the next part of the story. But they will always be in a playlist, easy for you to find, so don't worry about that. But Nine, I am so happy I had you on because I could have not told that story as well as you did. It seems like you're well studied on this and you've told it a few times.
I try to keep up on the knowledge of the Diablo lore and such.
Yeah, you definitely do. And again, thank you so much for coming through. I want you to take a minute though right now, because people that are here at this point in the video, I call them the OGs in the channel, the people that are really in love with what we're doing here. And they're the ones that are going to be the ones that have to go check out what you're doing. So why don't you take a moment, tell people maybe about your socials that you really frequent, and more about your podcast, where they can find it, when it is, and the information you talk about.
Oh, sure thing. Again, thank you for going through and inviting me here and having me on. But if you want to learn more about me or the things that I do, you can follow me at Twitter. I'm at 9ballgamer. And of course, the podcast itself, the West March Workshop, you can find, we're hosted over on diablo.blizzpro.com. But you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, any podcasting platform of choice that you use. You can go through, find it there. I also upload the videos. I live record on Twitch over at twitch.tv/BlizzPro every other Wednesday night, and then you can find the videos of those podcasts over on the BlizzPro YouTube channel. And then personally, I stream occasionally over at twitch.tv/9ball.
So you are basically everywhere. People may just bump into you if they're in the realm of Diablo. But what I'm going to do, Nine, is I'm going to ask you for any links that you want to share. I'll be putting them in the description of this video. So because you're interested in checking him out, you'll go down to the description and go see what he has going on. But guys, at this point, I want to thank you so much for sticking around until this point in the video. And again, Nine, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great story.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
No problem. But guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm down there reading them, what you think of the lore series. Did you learn something new? And if there's anything about the story that you want to know more about, let us know down below. That can influence our future episodes, as you've seen happen on the channel in the past. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you again so much for sticking around, and I'll see all you back here later on today with another video. While you're waiting, check out this one. Take care, guys, and be good.